This podcast is a proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv. This time I am speaking with returning guests Stephen and Paul Nicholson, who have formerly been on one of the biggest editing jobs I've ever had for Pods Like Us, when literally 20 minutes of pure laughter was edited out to start with, which is a record in itself. That was fun. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for speaking with me today, guys, again.
Pleasure to be here, yeah. Always good to catch up, Marv.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you've been on before for trimming the musical fat, which now is still going on with Stephen and occasional appearances by Paul. Is this sort of a spin-off of that, in a way? And why pick a Queen podcast?
Great question. I think for a while, myself and Paul had always... so Queen are our favourite band. And I think we had talked about over the years perhaps doing one around Queen. And of course, there are other Queen podcasts out there, and you'd see those episodes dropping and you think we really must get round to doing it. So I think that was favourite band. We wanted to do something with Queen because with Trimming the Musical Fat, we're jumping between different musical artists from episode to episode. So we wanted to focus in on one act, and why not be your favourite act? And also we wanted to do something which kind of went back to us doing something on a more regular basis. So this is a weekly show, and also it's a shorter show as well, whereas Trimming the Musical Fat, those episodes would tend to be an hour plus. So that was it. But ultimately it just comes back to we love Queen and wanted to talk Queen.
Yeah. Or 3 hours if we're discussing Prince.
Yes.
Paul, you were going to say? Yeah.
I think, like, for me, so for me, probably I stopped doing on a regular basis, the Trimming the Musical Fat podcast probably about a year and a half ago. And around that time, I remember saying to Stephen, would you want to do a solely Queen podcast? Because I felt I'd went as far as I wanted to with that, and I thought I would like to do something that focused on Queen. And we never really got round to it. We'd sort of, I think at the time, we'd done a script for maybe the first couple of songs of the first album. And it kind of just sat there for a while. And then I think Stephen was quite good at cajoling, getting it back going again. And then we just kind of started doing it I think it was maybe September. And we wanted to do it differently. We wanted to I suppose we took inspiration from other podcasts where they were quite short. And because I like things in chronological order, I thought it'd be a good idea to do every Queen track in order, and it would just tie in nicely. And we are quite knowledgeable about Queen, so we know our stuff when it comes to the information that we wouldn't necessarily have to look up, that we know the stuff. So it just felt like a good challenge, and it's something that you love, something that you're passionate about. So, yeah.
And I think Queen themselves as a band, even though we're going to go through every Queen song, because Queen really are such a special band and they always were changing their sound and what they were doing, you're never going to get bored with it, because they just covered so many musical genres. They changed with the times as well. Yeah, and there's obviously periods or albums that you will like more than others, but it's always great just to be talking about this stuff. And then obviously myself and Paul are brothers, but we've never really sat down and went nitty-gritty into each and every one of the songs. So I think we're finding out about each other as well as we go through it.
Do you think that going through it this way is giving you a different look at the music of Queen from, because I sometimes found when I was studying music and had to listen to music as part of that when I did my diploma, that you almost find new things to hone in on with songs when you do that.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can listen to them from a different perspective. Also, if you're, it's just funnily enough, it's coincided with the remixes coming out, so it's kind of gave us another take on the show that we wouldn't have had. And I think it's always good to look back as well, because sometimes your memory can you can get a bit mixed up sometimes in terms of your memories of certain songs, and it's good to like look back and have they aged well or have they not aged as well in your memory. And it's good just breaking it up. It's quite nice rather than going through like a whole album at once. It's like breaking each song up and giving it each the same amount of attention to each song.
I mean, for me personally, I'm loving having to dive deeper into each and every one of the songs, because you're having to research them to find out the background information into how they were recorded, what's the inspiration. You're having to analyze the lyrics. You're analyzing in much more detail the song structure, the instruments that are on there. So I think you're giving yourself a newfound appreciation for each of the songs, as well, by having to do a deeper dive, because you don't want to go into the podcast episodes and do a light touch, if you like. You want to have done your research there. So for me, it's been great. And as Paul says, I think because it's just coincidentally we started this when we've just had, well, fairly recently, the Queen 1 remix, the 2024 remix, and now we're getting the Queen 2 remix this year in 2026. It's just been a great time because we've got all these different versions of these same songs to have a look at as well, and say, right, what's the differences, which are the best ones, and such like. So yeah, it's just been a great time to start it.
Yeah, just to go on a tangent, I think it's been interesting. All these videos that Brian puts out on his socials, where he's almost discovering new things himself in the songs. And a famous one recently was not just the version of them doing the Smile song Polar Bear during the sessions for Queen 2, but they also said one of the songs, and this is where the geek in me comes out, the Queen geek, because he said something about, oh, there's a song where there's a vocal in there, and they don't know who it is because it's not any of the normal three. And I just suddenly thought, well, it's going to be Mike Stone, surely, because he was the engineer and he has done backing vocals for Queen before. So, but it's interesting that that's also bringing out those questions with Brian as well, going back to that period.
It is, and it's one of the pleasures, I think, of the remix stuff coming out. Case in point, yesterday, exciting stuff. I was cutting the grass in my back garden. First cut of 2026 yesterday, and I had the 2026 remix of Seven Seas of Rye on the headphones. And because you know these songs that well, you're listening to it going, oh, that's different. Was it? I do like to be beside the seaside, which plays on the outro. Like, oh, you can hear a woman there much higher in the mix. You don't really hear her before. Oh, I can hear Freddie Mercury's backing vocal there, much sharper and higher in the mix. So it's great. As I say, it's just getting to reappraise and reappreciate everything that you thought you knew so well.
So who's the woman singing then in the background? Is that a falsetto by Roger or really a woman?
No, I don't know what they did with that section. Paul might know, but obviously it's like a pub sing-along if I do like to be beside the seaside, but there does seem to be a lot of different voices in there, but I don't recognise the woman's voice at all. Do you know, Paul? No?
No, not really. The only time I can think of a female singer it was "Don't Lose Your Head." Was it Joan Armatrading? She was in "Don't Lose." That's the only song I can really think of where there's a female voice in a Queen track. Yeah, it's interesting though.
Trading, yeah. Maybe if they do another reissue of A Kind of Magic, they will finally credit Chris Rea with the finger snaps.
Yeah. bizarrely, that was someone else I was listening to yesterday. Obviously Chris Rea, was it December he passed away?
Passed away
And
in
I
December,
had,
didn't he? Yeah.
I downloaded a playlist to listen to some of his stuff. It's not somebody I've really got in my collection. And I remember downloading the playlist from Apple and never getting round to listen to it. So I thought yesterday was that day. So yeah, funnily enough, Chris Rea was on the headphones yesterday. But yeah, it's bizarre. You get obviously various parties that come in to a recording and just add maybe a little bit to it, and most of the time going uncredited. In this case, with Chris Rea.
Yeah. Although it's definite, because I know Brian actually said it before that when somebody asked or something, I think a reporter asked, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's Chris doing that." So
But it's
why he's
bizarre though,
uncredited,
Marv.
who knows?
I know it's bizarre though, isn't it? It's like where Freddie's click's not good enough, or Roger's click's not good enough.
I do know maybe
sorry?
Chris was recording there at the time,
Maybe more than
and
likely, yeah.
and the co-producer was David Richards. So
Right, yeah. He worked with
see,
Chris Rea, yeah. Well, did he get any royalties? That's what I want to know, Marv.
I know. Well, he won't get any now, will he? His family will.
Well, he won't. It's his estate getting royalties.
Yes, we will go away from the estate because that would go to a whole other podcast about Prince, and that's a very different subject altogether.
Yes, another member of music royalty. Yes.
Yes, he was a prince, but we're talking about another member of royalty.
Well,
Although you could have done a podcast about Prince.
indeed, I know. Well, I'm a huge Prince fan. Paul's more of a casual listener of Prince, but the thing is, I think that would be a huge undertaking to do a kind of weekly song by song Prince podcast, because he was just so prolific. Goodness knows how many officially released songs are out there. I mean, you'd be talking. I would even want to hazard a guess.
I mean, now that you've got all the expanded versions of his albums coming out as well, that's even more difficult.
Mm-hmm. You might be talking something like 1999 or Sign of the Times, which are double albums, but I think the stuff that didn't make it, I mean, you're talking even just between those two albums, hundreds of tracks.
Yeah.
And that's just two albums, so it would be a huge undertaking, yeah. But who knows? Never say never, Marv.
No. I'm looking forward to somebody having a go at Frank Zappa's career. Good luck to them.
Is that going to be you?
No. Unless I can clone myself to do it for the next 100 years or so. Because that guy was about 3 or 4 albums a year for 50 years or something ridiculous, wasn't it?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Stupid.
Crazy. Yeah.
Really, wow. Crazy, really prolific writing. Amazing. So, what made you decide on the format that you do, the shorter format? Because I've said to both of you that I like listening to this in conjunction with the longer show that we all like as well, Seaside Pod Review. I think they work nicely with each other. So why go for the shorter format and use what you're doing with the different sections as well, the facts, and then the giving the review or your opinion before going into everything else?
I think both Paul and I, and you yourself as well, Marv, you've had them as guests, but one of the big inspirations was Face the Music, the Electric Light Orchestra song by song podcast by the two Erics. So that was a big influence on this, and I say that because maybe primarily for two reasons. One being theirs were short, around about the 10 to 15 minute mark each episode. Obviously a weekly show as well. And also, I remember speaking to the guys, because we've had them as guests as well on Trimming Musical Fat, and I don't know if they told us or if it was actually the show that they appeared on with you, Marv, which was the sticking to the facts, if you like, of what you're discussing, and there was no chat about what was going on in their lives or anything like that at all. It was all very much meant to be, if you like, timeless information about the subject matter. So I suppose we've taken that all on board with what we're doing there with the length and kind of very much keeping to the facts. And I think the structure of it as well, that's maybe been more influenced by what we do on Trimming the Musical Fat, where we do have it very kind of logically structured out with different sections about, right, okay, we want to give information about, in this case, the song. I think we've been talking about having a quiz for ages as well, so we wanted to get a quiz question in there, which is good to have at the beginning and then give the answer at the end, because you want to keep people listening. So that's the primary reason for that being in there. And also, I think the reason why we do our own ranking of the song at the beginning, I think it's just to give the listener a flavour of, I suppose, how we are going to critique it. And I think as well, because on our Facebook group, we always ask the people in the group, of which you are one of them, Marv, is we do a poll each week as well to find out what the listeners think of the song. And the nice thing about that is I've been really surprised with a lot of the songs where I'm thinking everyone's going to say this is a top rated track, and then you're finding out, oh, everybody's ranking it low. Or I think something's middle tier and everybody's ranking it top. So that's been really interesting. So yeah, I think that was by and large how we came down with the format. And also I think from a personal perspective, it's just a hell of a lot less editing a 10-minute show than it is an hour plus show. So again, from a selfish perspective, that was one of the big reasons behind it. And last one would be, I mean, my day job, I work in learning and development, and one of the things that we're trying to do just with the change in times is people like stuff in a bit-sized format now. So things are shorter, sharper. People will tend to give things a listen if they're a bit shorter. So I suppose those are the primary reasons why we've went down that. And I suppose to make it our unique selling point as well, it's your weekly hit of Queen that's going to be under 10 minutes. Don't know. And I've just added another one of the reasons is to give a big shout out to the likes of Seaside Pod Review and In the Lap of the Pods, two other Queen podcasts. Because again, I think if these guys weren't doing what they were doing, we might not have been shoved into doing our show. So shout out to them as well.
Yeah. But also, the shorter format means that you can, if you want to, bulk record episodes.
Oh, yes, Marv. Yes. And that's what we try and do, Paul, don't we?
Yeah, we're going punk. We're stripping it back. It's just because I think sometimes when there's podcasts, sometimes people's attention span can't really take depending on the length of some podcasts. So we thought, wouldn't it be nice just to do like what Stephen was saying there about the Face the Music guys? I really liked the way they did it, and I thought, well, we don't want, and we're aware there's other Queen podcasts, we don't want to do something similar. So if we do it this way, it's going to be different to the other ones, because I'd like to think we all love the band, and all the different podcasts about Queen, we all support each other because the common love of Queen is what unites us. So I think there's something about that. And like I say, I've got this thing where I like to do things in order. So it's rather than do them randomly, there's something nice about almost like a progression and yeah, so I quite like that.
Yeah, it means from an editing perspective, I only really need to try and keep to editing one a week, and it's only a short episode as well. So yeah, it works out really quite well doing it that way.
Does it make the research a bit bulky, though, researching multiple songs
Yes.
to record them all in the bulk? Yeah.
It certainly does, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, I think we're lucky in that it's not difficult by and large for Queen, because there's so much information out there. And I think now, whether that's online or you might have something in books that you own, but certainly online, especially with the likes of Copilot these days, where you can just jump into Copilot, although you can't always take 100% of what it says as being actual facts. You still need to verify it. So I think between the likes of Copilot, there's some really good Queen sites out there as well, Wikipedia, of course. So I think between all that, and obviously I think I've got all the albums on record as well, with the exception of Made in Heaven, so you can pull out the sleeve notes and have a look at all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, I think we're spoiled for choice when it comes to the research. Although I think the surprising thing is sometimes is you might go to a song like whatever, maybe something from the debut album, like Son and Daughter, case in point, which I love. And you think, okay, let's find out information about it. But with some songs, there's not a lot of information out there with certain ones, and you're struggling to find stuff. If you might read something and we're going between us, no, that's no. So that's it. We'll trust their own we'll trust their own brain over certain things, yeah.
If I knew we were going to go into books, I would have dug out my copy of what I think is the best Queen biography, which is As It Began. I think that's
I've not read
quintessential
that.
to me.
Not
No.
read that one.
Because that's Jackie Gunn. Yeah.
Oh, she was the fan club president,
She was
wasn't
the
she?
fan club, yeah.
Yeah.
Who all three of us would have been in touch with, because all three of us were members of the fan club back in the day, I believe.
Bizarre.
No.
Me neither.
No.
To our shame, Marv. To our shame.
Oh dear. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Is it
Yeah.
Pembroke Grove
Yeah.
or Gardens or something? Yeah.
Dear me. So I got the fan club magazine books and you didn't. Oh, dear.
Yeah. Did they do any kind of vinyl type things during that time?
They did. They had some vinyls
Right.
that you could get, some special cut versions of just alternative versions of still singles that they'd release.
Yeah.
But you'd have different coloured vinyl that you can't buy in the shop, for instance, that you could buy online, and you could buy, it had all sorts of things, and what else, like T-shirts you could buy on there,
Right.
posters you could buy, and all sorts of things. I spent stupid amounts of money on their memorabilia and stuff on their website, on their fan club. No such thing as the websites then.
I know. Oh, I used to love my Queen.
Did they not do like Christmas messages for the fans and stuff? Like
Yeah, you got Christmas messages in there. They all took in turns, because towards the end of my being a member, which would be 91, 92 maybe, you would get just one every, I think, quarter or so. Where when I first started, you were getting one every month. But then, with it being one every quarter, you got one from each individual member of Queen. You get a letter from each individual member. Yeah.
Oh, I used to love my Queen T-shirts.
Because one of the ones I remember the most was John. John wrote a message, and they were talking about they were recording. They didn't say the name of the album on it, but he says, "Oh, recording the next album," and it would have ended up being Innuendo. And
Right.
he was mentioning about them deciding which songs. They were already deciding what video would work for which songs, and at one point he said that they almost made "Don't Try So Hard" into a single, because he said that they were talking about what video they could do for that song, which I thought was interesting to see that, and then know that didn't become a single.
Yeah, can't see that as a single. Not commercial enough, I don't think. And for me personally, not memorable enough either.
No.
Ooh.
Ooh, I know where that's going to go in the future.
Yeah, but I think coming back to collecting Queen stuff, but yeah, the T-shirts were great. As Paul says, yeah, I used to have the Miracle one, which probably in retrospect was a pretty horrible T-shirt.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't a party.
No, it certainly wasn't. Oh, Khashoggi ship.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I think the first T-shirt I got was, I think it was like the Works. It was like a Works T-shirt, and then for my 9th birthday, I got this. It was like blue sweater, and it had like Queen, like almost like the band, like ironed on, And I remember thinking I was so cool at the time. Yeah, I used to love all that.
And Paul, with your works T-shirt, what did you do when you'd finished with it? Did you tear it up?
I think the hammer fell on that one.
Oh, I think it did. Yeah, it did.
I remember a sweater I got from the fan club. I did get myself a hoodie that had like just the Queen emblem on
Oh,
the
nice.
corner there, just the Queen emblem. I just thought that was
Yeah.
really cool. I don't know where any of this stuff's gone now.
Yeah. Did it attract the fat bottom girls?
Yes, it did. Yeah, but they weren't riding bicycles. I don't think.
Very good.
Oh, dear.
Did you get calendars through the years? Because
Yes, got calendars as well each year. Yeah, you could buy a calendar. You had to buy it. You didn't get it for free. The calendar, you had to buy it. But I did buy it every year. It's
That's
all
great.
about the money.
I bet you wish you'd kept all this stuff now.
I wish I'd have gone to the conventions, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember the talk about them back in the day. Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah. So we're already into this other bit now. We're going to go skip ahead. What was your introduction to Queen then for both of you?
Well, I vividly remember.
probably, yeah, on you go. It'll be very similar. So it's probably being in my dad's car, and he had the greatest hits on cassette. So there's always something cool about when you press the cassette in and you heard that little click. And then that was probably it, really, just through hearing the greatest hits. And then I remember having a scarf in my room when We Are the Champions came on and like dancing. So probably just the greatest hits really was it. And then probably the first album that came out sort of when we were into Queen would be The Works, probably. I think that, yeah. It's probably like the year before.
That was just last week. That'd be right. I vividly remember now this because Paul would only be, I don't know, 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. So he had this. Who are the toy makers? It was Fisher Price. Yeah, Fisher
Yep.
Price. This kid's tape player thing. This big chunky brown and I think it was brown and yellow tape recorder type thing they used to have, and I think we'd taken out the greatest hits set out in my dad's car because I think we liked We Are the Champions. But then, of course, I think we'd wound it back and like, oh, what's this one? We Will Rock You. This is a good song. And then, of course, you flip the tape over. It's like, right, play Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, this is a good song. Which then went into another one, Bites Dust. This is a good song. And then I think that was us, just ended up playing greatest hits on a loop. But we're still really very young. I'd say, I think Paul was only about 5 or 6. I'd only be, 8 or 9 year old. And that was us. We were indoctrinated into to Queen for life after that. What about you, Marv?
Me, I'm around the same period. I've said
Yeah.
to you both before on giving stuff away now. I've already guested on their show. But I was saying on there that I was introduced by a dodgy copy of the works that my stepdad brought back home. The songs were all in the wrong order. And it was a photocopied picture as well and everything. So it's a good job the picture was in black and white on the cover because that meant that I wasn't able to tell the difference originally. But yeah, that would be my introduction. So, and I loved that. But the thing about greatest hits is that it's a strange one because normally I'm usually a stalwart about studio records. Personally, I will go right studio records because I like the deep dives and the deep cuts and everything and this, that, and the other. But the greatest hits compilation is one of those rarities where it is wall to wall, top to bottom, absolute genius all the way through. And it works to show you the variation of Queen's material and the different genres that they messed with on their albums, Whereas, on a normal studio album, they will try all these different genres, but the singles for a lot of bands would be this one specific style. Queen with Greatest Hits, it does show you those different genres, and that's why I think that is the quintessential compilation, in my opinion, of any group.
Absolutely. When you think, because when you were growing up, you just think, oh, that's an album of songs. You don't really see it in the context, which is maybe good to me because you just like the songs for the songs. But just something about it. It's just, I always thought the cover was a bit like Superman 2, when all the baddies are. It's really cool the way it's done. And it's to this day, it's the biggest selling album in the UK of all time. And I think it's just over 7 million in the UK. I think ABBA Gold's next, so it's another compilation. But it's just absolutely superb album. And yeah, I would argue it's the best ever compilation album out there.
I mean, I've thought about this in the past where, and I know we've previously talked about it, what makes Queen so good is because they ventured into different genres without losing them. So, I mean, people could argue over the Hot Space album, but they went into different genres without losing what essentially made them Queen. They still managed to retain what made them unique, and I think that comes through loud and clear on the greatest hits. And there's probably not any song on there that's not a classic tune. And when you're looking at comparable best of or greatest hits, I mean, ABBA Gold's a good shout. That's a fantastic compilation. And again, there's probably not any song on there that's not a classic song. And another good example would be the Beatles, maybe the Number Ones album, where the same again, there's nothing on there you probably wouldn't regard as a classic song. And all three of those acts have the thing in common where they did like to play around with style, hugely melodic and hugely popular, and great singles bands.
Yeah, but also groups that are allowed to do their own thing as well, as opposed to some other groups and artists who are, to my mind, it's almost as though they're pushed into a certain category, and it's like, right, you must work in this, this, and this. Whereas the record companies, I think it's because they sold so well when they all first started. The record companies just allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah, it's well, that's it, and I think it's one of the things when you, again, if we're focusing on best of or greatest hits, and you do listen to most greatest hits type albums, and then yeah, most of those acts plough the same furrow, and which doesn't make it the most exciting listening experience in the world. I mean, I always laugh when a band or a singer comes out with a greatest hits after they've had about 2 albums. It's just like, yeah, come on. But I think Queen had what, 7, 8, 9 albums by the time Greatest Hits had come out.
Yeah,
studio
like
albums.
That. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the Greatest Hits. The best of is an art form in itself, and I think personally, I think the Queen Greatest Hits is the best of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when you think about the marketing of it, because the same for the second one, there was Greatest Flicks, the video companion piece, and you had Greatest Picks, which was the book. So it was quite clever, the marketing of it. And Greatest Flicks was superb. I mean, that was another way for songs that like Tie Your Mother Down, Spread Your Wings, you'd never really heard if you're just used to the Greatest Hits album. And what's quite funny when you were buying the Queen albums after listening to Greatest Hits, and you would hear, so for example, you'd hear My Best Friend, You're My Best Friend, and then you'd be expecting Don't Stop Me Now to come on next, and suddenly it would be 39 because your brain used to the sequencing of the albums. So that was always quite interesting, hearing them in a different context.
I mean, there's one song I would have loved to have got on Greatest Hits, and I know it's not on because it wasn't a greatest hit, and also probably due to time as well, which is Spread Your Wings. That's the equal of any of the other stuff on the Greatest Hits. I would have loved to have seen that on there as well.
Yeah, Yeah, so I was going to come out with a joke then and say, that maybe Body Language should have been on Queen's
Oh,
Greatest Hits too, but that's not a
no, it
very good
shouldn't.
joke. No.
No, it should not be anywhere near any best of or greatest hits of Queen.
Well, there was some copies of Greatest Hits had Under Pressure. Like some, I think, different ones around the world had Under Pressure because it came out around the same time. But in the UK, it didn't go. I think it just made 29. I think it got to number 1 in Canada. It got to like 29 in America. Because originally, Greatest Hits was supposed to come out in 1980, but because they'd done Flash Gordon, they thought, no, that's going to be a bit overkill. That'd be like 3 albums in a year. But originally, it was going to come out in 1980, and they thought, well, actually, if we leave it to 81, that'll be like the 10th anniversary of the band forming. Yeah.
Wasn't a big hit in America, though. Under Pressure. I don't think it was a hit in America, was it? Yeah, it wasn't a big hit there.
Those Americans, they don't know what they're missing.
Oh, I know.
Well, there was some copies of Greatest Hits had Under Pressure. Like some, I think, different ones around the world had Under Pressure because it came out around the same time. But in the UK, it didn't go on. I think it just made 29. I think it got to number 1 in Canada. It got to like 29 in America. Because originally, Greatest Hits was supposed to come out in 1980, but because they'd done Flash Gordon, they thought, no, that's going to be a bit overkill. That'd be like 3 albums in a year. But originally, it was going to come out in 1980, and they thought, well, actually, if we leave it to 81, that'll be like the 10th anniversary of the band forming. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think about 1980, that's the second time in Queen's history where you've got 2 studio albums basically in 1 year,
That's
because
right.
you've got The Game, and then 5-6 months later, you've got the Flash Gordon soundtrack.
That's right, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, the Flash Gordon soundtrack, that in itself was quite unique for soundtracks, in that you had the dialogue from the. In effect, the soundtrack album was almost telling the story because the way the songs were in chronological order as they would appear. Pretty much, yeah. And pretty much in chronological order as to how they appear in the movie, coupled with the dialogue, it's almost like an audio storybook of the movie. You didn't need to go and see the movie if you bought the soundtrack.
No, I'd not thought about that, but it's actually in order of the film. That's true.
That's right. Yeah, and obviously for a soundtrack album, that was very unusual to have feature the dialogue so heavy in it like that. Normally, it would just be, oh, it works brilliantly well, but you would normally just have the music on the soundtrack album. So again, Queen doing something different.
But also, it's a first for a group to have done that anyway, to have done an entire soundtrack for a film, which you would get only a couple of years later with something like Legend, when they had Tangerine Dream doing that soundtrack. But yeah, it was a first that way as well. Queen doing a soundtrack as a rock
That's
band.
right. That's right. Yeah. So no, I mean, and the thing is, critics would maybe sneer at Queen, but I think they're having the last laugh now with a lot of the things that maybe at the time were maybe sneered at or mocked. They've been proven to be quite innovative in their day.
Yep. Who knows? Owen Ling might be happy, and they might suddenly get people might change their opinions of Hot Space. Who knows?
I think it's a good album, Hot Space. I've always enjoyed Hot Space. I think they were just unlucky that they kind of decided to go down that route just as people were sick of that kind of sound, the disco type of sound. It was just bad timing. And I think compared to a lot of their other work, it does perhaps sound lightweight in comparison on that album. Although I know Paul will probably say this as well, those same songs performed live as a kind of traditional rock band are much, much better.
I think as well, I know they talked about on Seaside Pod Review as well, they were saying a lot of the game, the technology works really well, synthesizers and stuff like that, it works really well. Whereas in Hot Space, it's more like dated, whereas the technology seems to, there's a good balance in the game where it works. Whereas Hot Space kind of maybe is a bit one way or the other, really.
But I would say it's just the first side of Hot Space, because the second side's a much more maybe traditional sounding Queen record when you think of the songs on the second side. It's just really that first side that's more the kind of funk dance vibe production.
Yeah, I think side one of Hot Space is what we probably would have got if John Deacon had have had a solo group outside of Queen.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he would have probably have done, probably with Freddie guesting on vocals. That's my guess.
I think so. I mean, he was obviously along with Freddie, the two in the group who did enjoy the most the kind of more disco, the funk, the dance side of music. And I think Roger and Brian were kind of a lot of the time dragged along for the ride, weren't they?
Which nice.
But I do think there's a bit of revisionism there as well, because there's this narrative now that Brian and Roger hated it. They could have said at the time, "We don't like this. We don't want to do this." So I think I know that it wasn't their thing, but I think there's still a bit where there's a bit of revisionism there because it makes them look like the good guys almost.
Roger and Brian don't do that, Paul. They don't. I mean, have you not seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? There's no revisionism going on there.
I have my issues with that film. Yeah. You see, my looking back revisionist style with Hot Space, and I know some people disagree with me on this, is that they're experimenting with synthesizers, with drum machines more, and that side of it would lead to things like Radio Gaga. To me, it's got
Correct.
that sort of like, because they've used that, and that's going back to almost what Paul said, where with the game, it's those synthesizers and electronic percussion that are backing up the traditional on the game, whereas some people saw Hot Space being the traditional instruments, they're backing up the synthesizers and the electronic, whereas Radio Gaga was almost somewhere in between that, and it worked because they meshed, they melded together more. But I think that helps them to be able to go to that level where they knew then this is what we can do with synths. We've done this. Now we're going to this next level. Where can we put them into Queen? Still doing that, but making it quintessentially Queen.
Absolutely, it works really. No pun intended, but it works really well, and it's almost like because people they say, "Oh, the reason the works got its name was because Queen were going back to give the fans what they wanted. They were giving them the works." But Radio Gaga is like totally electronic, but it's a brilliant song and the production's really good. So I think what you're saying is right, Marv. Yeah, they probably might not have been able to get there had they not done that stuff on Hot Space.
It's more organic on the likes of Radio Gaga, where it's maybe the synthesizers or the sound doesn't overwhelm the song. It's much more organic, and you find that with a lot of bands and singers as well. To get from A to B, they sometimes have to have that maybe more difficult album in between to try something new, and maybe it doesn't all work, but then they learn from that to get to the next album, the better album, where it does all the things all fit into place for it. And I think maybe Hot Space is that to what we then get in the works, which is a much more polished, organic sounding, probably better album.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you know about Paul McCartney, but it's like the press to play Paul McCartney thing, where I think the experimentalism with the different equipment and synthesizers and programming that he did with press to play led to what he would do then on the following album, which was a really big album, Flowers in the Dirt. There's a lot of programming and synthesizers on there, but he was introduced to all that through the difficult press to play album, which led to that. You see what I mean? It's almost like the experimentalism leads to it becoming ingrained as part of, but not taking over in a way. Same sort of thing, really.
Absolutely. You're kind calling it a difficult album.
I don't think it's that bad, actually. Do you know that? Press to play. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's. I'm probably in the minority. I think Flowers in the Dut's overrated.
Ooh, controversial.
There we go. Oh, that would be a discussion and a half on trimming the musical fat.
I certainly would. No, I rate it. I think it's an excellent album. And I think by that point, McCartney's finest album since Tug of War.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
So getting back to Queen then, I was going to do a wonderful segue and then suddenly we changed subject because we were talking about the individual members of Queen, and that would have led me to, speaking of the individual members of Queen, what would you say is a solo Queen highlight? Like something that Roger's done in his solo career, or Brian, or Freddie, or even John, I suppose.
Ooh. Well, the one I immediately jumped to, and bizarrely, because it was the first time in ages I'd listened to it. I was jogging down to the gym yesterday, and it was actually a beautiful sunny day here in Edinburgh, blue skies, and I just had my shorts and t-shirt on because it was nice and warm. And I thought, what will I put on? I went, oh, I'm going to put on Mr. Bad Guy, Freddie Mercury's solo album from, was it 85? And that's what I listened to. I rate that album really highly. I think Freddie sounds brilliant on it. I think it's got a couple of the best things he's ever written, in the likes of Made in Heaven and I Was Born to Love You. And I mean, the production and the sound, and it's a mid-80s production, and there's no getting away from it.
Yeah.
I don't think it sounds as timeless as Queen. It is what it is, but I think it's a really strong set of songs, with 2 or 3 which are absolutely top tier. The title track's brilliant as well. So that's what I would immediately say, Mr. Bad Guy by Freddie.
Yep. Also, isn't there a story behind Mr. Bad Guy with you as well, Stephen?
Yes,
Something
that's
about
right. Yeah,
playing the tape in the car.
That's right. And it always, and this still makes me laugh to this day, whenever it comes on. So yeah, our dad, there's a kind of local shopping mall, which is quite near here, and we were going down to, for those that don't know, a place called Blackpool, which is down in England, and it's a seaside town. We were going down there for, I don't know, a long weekend or a week, whatever it might be. And my dad had went in to buy a new cassette for the car to listen to as we went down to Blackpool, and he came back to the car, put it in, turned it up, and it starts. It was, and me and Paul looked at each other. Looked at each other quite aghast. What have you bought, Dad? Is that the new Bronski Beat album? What have you bought? And then Freddie's vocals came in, like, oh, Freddie Mercury's solo album, right? Okay, fair enough. So that always, whenever I hear that, I'm just taken back to 1985, sitting in the car and thinking it's Bronski Beat. And funnily enough, from that same holiday, another link back to it is in Blackpool. They had a big massive swimming pool there with like water slides, a water kind of flume there, and it just so happened when I was going down it for the first time, the swimming pool had a radio on, played over the speakers, and Made in Heaven was playing as I was kind of very happily sliding down this water slide. So that's another happy memory for me, linked to that album, Made in Heaven, playing as I go down the water flume.
Okay.
Good
Paul?
memories.
Paul, your shout out for solo Queen. Okay, yeah.
What I actually liked was, it was a single in '77, and it was a cover that Roger did. What was it called again? I even think he was on Top of the Pops, so he went on the Mark Bolan show or something. It's quite punky. Oh, what's it called? I want to say Can I Get a Witness? It's not that. Testify. I Want to Testify. That was it. Have you heard that? That's a good song. That's like quite punky. That was his first single. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that vividly because I just had a crazy, I had a crazy 8 days where I can't even remember what order this was in, but I was literally might have been Brian May on a Friday night at the Edinburgh Playhouse, then got a bus down to Milton Keynes on the Saturday to go see Metallica. They were doing a festival at Milton Keynes Bowl, and then the following Saturday back down to Milton Keynes to see Guns N' Roses play at the Milton Keynes Bowl. So it was a crazy 8 days. Because I'll be honest, Milton Keynes is nowhere near Edinburgh, so it was a very healthy coach ride to and from back, from 8 hours maybe to get down there and 8 hours back, something like that.
Is it Milton Keynes where that Queen on Fire live
Yeah,
album was from? That was from
that's
the
right.
Milton Keynes Bowl.
Yeah, ironically.
That is a great gig. That is
Oh
really
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great show.
I mean, going back to the songs on Hot Space, like, you've got Back Chat on there, works a lot better live with live drums and everything there, and Stay in Power is such a ballsy song live.
Do you know another good kind of, not solo as such, but it was a B-side. It was, remember Roger Taylor's band The Cross, and they put out, I think you owned it, Paul. They had a single. Was it "Love on a Tightrope"? Was it
Yeah.
was it a B-side, "Love on a Tightrope"? That was
It
a
was on the
cracking
album,
tune.
that.
Yeah. And what about you, Marv? You got any particular Queen solo favourites?
Queen solo. I might go with, I don't know whether to go for Fun in Space or Strange Frontier. I might go for Fun in Space by Roger, which
Right.
makes me
Okay.
laugh because of Roger's going on about hot space, but Fun in Space has so much synthesizer and electronic percussion on there, it's crazy.
Yeah.
81, yeah.
And even got space in the album titles of both.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, I just find that album interesting, looking at Roger and how he experimented on his solo albums more than he did with Queen, for sure. Interesting Queen trivial fact, though. Do you know who created the alien for that? The actual model of the alien?
Oh, I do not.
Was it something to do with like Friday the 13th or Jason or something? Or
It's based on a comic by somebody, but they hired a company to actually make a full realistic model of the actual, or a sculpture of the actual alien for the cover. And the person that made that model was actually Tim Stoffel from Smile.
Really? Did not know that.
Because Tim tells a story that he went round to go and visit Roger about in the mid-80s, and he went round to Roger's house, and they went from like the living room to the dining room. As they went through, he just spotted in one of the rooms the alien there, and he said to Roger, he goes, "Bloody hell!" He says, "I made that." And Roger says, "Really?" He goes, "That's my album cover."
How bizarre. Small world, huh?
Very small world. But Tim
The
also
weirdest thing.
created the models for Thomas the Tank Engine as well.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Did not know that. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, it must be. Yeah. Did not know
There you
that.
go. You come here to find out about podcasting, you get all this trivia that's stuck in our heads.
Every day's a school day.
It is. So, yeah, I'll go with Fun in Space because I just find it a fun, interesting mix of bits and pieces. And he's experimenting there with going from song to song, isn't he? There's like merging, the songs follow on from each other and go into each other as well on side 2, I think.
You know, I've not listened to that in ages, so that'll be tomorrow then while I'm working. I'll fire that album on, get reacquainted with it.
yeah, what I actually liked was it was a single in '77 and it was a cover that Roger did. What was it called again? I even think he was on Top of the Pops, so he went on the Mark Bolan show or something. It's quite punky. Oh, what's it called? I want to say "Can I Get a Witness?" It's not that. Testify. I Want to Testify. That was it. Have you heard that? That's a good song. That's like quite punky. That was his first single. Yeah, that was good.
I Want to Testify. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. But, yeah, and then the B side of I Want to Testify was a song called Turn on the TV. And I suddenly thought, when I first heard that, I thought, hold on a minute, turn on the TV, let me drift. And it's like, because he uses that exact line on one of the Queen songs, doesn't he? Which song is that?
Oh, now you're
Sheer
asking.
Heart Attack, the song. Turn on the TV, let it drift out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah.
same here.
Yeah. Good shout.
Dear me. My head's full of all useless information.
Well, it's all good stuff to know.
If only they'd ask questions like this at a pub quiz.
Don't you worry about if we're logging these to use in the podcast in upcoming episodes.
There you go. When you get to the solo careers.
No, when we get to 1977, I'll be like, now Roger Taylor released a solo single in 1977.
Have you thought that far ahead? What you're going to do when you get to that sort of era? Are you just going to go through the Queen catalogue, or are you going to intersperse it when they've got solo stuff, or wait until the end?
Personally, yeah, I'm in agreement on that one there. Yeah, get the Queen stuff out, and we also want to do, as we're going through them, if the band had released any B-sides as well, we'll actually do that as we're doing the album as well. So case in point, we've got Queen 2 coming up, and there was a B-side there, See What a Fool I've Been, so we will do that as part of the Queen 2 stuff. And the thing is, with Queen, they didn't really do a great deal of exclusive B-sides. So there's not that many in the grand scheme of things. There's just the odd one or two until you get to, say, like The Miracle, where suddenly there's a lot. And then, of course, with a lot of these re-releases, you've got a lot of tracks that have, again, from The Miracle as an example, which have been put out. So that will be another discussion to be had. Do we just do The Miracle tracks from the original album and the B-sides, or do we put in the stuff that's been released since then? So the answer is we don't know.
You don't know? No.
We don't know.
No.
I mean, I quite like doing it all as, if you're in that time period, I'd like to do all the stuff in that time period before moving on. It kind of makes sense to do it that way. But again, other than certain albums or certain singles where there was quite a lot of B-sides, by and large, Queen did just do the albums, and there wasn't a lot in the way of B-sides, so it should be fairly straightforward in that respect.
Yeah, but an interesting thing would be when you come to the solo material afterwards, then, might be to look from the point of view of, this is me making a suggestion here, might be an idea of looking at it and thinking, does anything that they did in their solo material affect what would then come up next from Queen? That might be an interesting subject.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. And the thing is, for me, that would be interesting. The solo stuff would be interesting for me to do, because I know I've never really given Roger's stuff a deep dive. I've never ever listened to Brian. I don't think I've ever listened to Brian May's second solo album. I've never really given Freddie's Barcelona album a really good dive into. So yeah, for me, that would be actually quite an interesting thing to go into.
Barcelona, I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Both of you. I don't know whether either of you listened to the old album.
Paul had it back in the day on vinyl.
I got it back in the original album cover as well, not the reissued one. So yeah. No, I think it's actually like in 2012 they put real orchestration on it and took out the synths, and it sounded much better. So Freddie's vocals are arguably the best ever on that album. Absolutely fabulous, his vocals.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Only Freddie
Um,
could do that.
yeah. And of course, you got John on that album as well. In a couple of places, he plays bass on a couple of songs. Yeah, definitely on there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I look forward to doing the solo stuff. That's good. So I mean, I think we'll kind of be winding up stuff by the year 2032 or something. Yeah, we'll be in Zimmer frames by the time we're getting to the end.
I'll see because I believe Michael Jackson had two, I think, tubes that he was able to lie in. So perhaps I could get both of them sent over to you, and you could both go and sleep in those, maybe, so you can.
Yeah, that
last
would
longer.
be helpful. Well, that's another thing. You're talking to Michael Jackson. That's another thing, isn't it? Right. The Freddie's work with Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yep.
That
And
he must have been gutted about that he never got on Thriller. Imagine the royalties.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Imagine the royalties. Yep. Well, Macca done all right out of it, getting a song on there, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
Because he really needed
the
the
chatty
money.
bit in the middle.
Hey, Michael. Oh, Michael. I've just went Ringo there rather than Paul, but hey,
no autographs.
Oh, that would have been. Imagine if it was Ringo on it. That'd be great. All right there, MJ.
We've skipped through these bits. So you record the show on Riverside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you use any of the onboard editing that's on Riverside as well for it to AI it for you?
I have to say, Riverside, that's the tool we use to record, and they have really went in quite heavy on the AI side of things in the last 12 months or so. And well, with with the exception of one feature, which I'll come back to shortly, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I use a lot of the AI features when more so. Obviously, the recording's fine, but more so from the editing perspective, whereby one of the best tools they have is you can basically take the recording and of the audio, and it will basically get almost like make it studio quality professional, even if the source wasn't all that great to begin with. And it then has the sound level equalized as well. So that's a huge time saver to have a feature like that. So and various other things like your branding, your podcast cover, your background, and all that can be put in there, which is great. So I would highly recommend Riverside for the various different features, the AI type features that you can get. One of the AI features, which has got better, but it's still a bit uncanny valley, is you can turn on a feature where it replaces your eyeballs.
Okay.
So if you want to be shown as always looking at the camera, you can actually I think it's called fix eye contact. And so even if you're looking away maybe at something else, it's still your eyes will still be looking at the camera, but it does mean that you look a bit weird a lot of the time. But they have improved it. But yeah, so sometimes it's just kind of horror movie weird.
do. Yes, yeah.
Genuinely. But yeah, no, just purely even just for that sound AI feature is fantastic. And obviously episode descriptions and that kind of stuff as well. It's really good.
Yeah. And show art, how did that come about, the show art? Who came up with that and where?
Me, and I took the laziest way of doing it. Co-pilot. We are doing a Queen podcast called Share Pod Attack, and we need a cover for a show dedicated to the Queen song Doing All Right. Can you create something which shows X, Y, and Z? And let it come up with something and just refine it from there. So Copilot's a great way to, if you like, get ideas and give you something to work with to begin working with. So yeah, so far that's what we've used. So I usually get it from Copilot. I'll then put it into Canva and then play around with it in there just to get it the way we want it to look. So yeah, so thus far, Copilot and Canva are our friends when it comes to art.
But it's interesting because since we've all started more than 5 years ago, all of us, with podcasting,
That's right.
it's amazing how the tech has grown in all that time.
Oh,
From
yeah.
us having to do everything ourselves back then to now being like, do you know what? I'll let you do a bit of an edit and then I'll finish the edit myself. That's made it a bit easier for. And all these tools are amazing.
It's incredible, Marv. I mean, even coming back to Riverside there, when you start to edit, ultimately, I do the final edit of something in the Luma Fusion app on my iPad. I find that best for the final tweaking of things. But I start with Riverside, and one of their great features as well, which I should have mentioned, is the ability to automatically take out pauses in the recording, or if you've duplicated anything, it will take it out. And it'll actually recommend parts that you might want to take out as well. So already it's cutting down on your runtime by taking out stuff that you're not going to use. And then of course you can just walk through it with, you can listen to the stuff, or you can just read the transcript and then take out things through there as well. So again, that AI functionality that it's got to automatically start editing your show for you is tremendous.
Although sometimes the transcriptions are your transcriptions better than the ones that I get from Zencaster, or do they have their issues as well at times?
Oh, they have their issues. Yeah, you look at a word and go, "I never said that," or you'll maybe let the AI do its thing to edit the show for you, and then you'll be listening back and you think, I've had one recently. So we start a show and I'll go, "Yeah, I'm Stephen Nicholson," and Paul will go, "I'm Paul Nicholson," and I think one recently it actually took out the Paul, so it's like, "I'm Stephen Nicholson," and so you've got to always do your quality control.
So, what advice would you give to people starting a podcast themselves today?
Guys, probably maybe get support from other podcasters. I think it's good to take inspiration, because that's what we did. Take inspiration from other podcasters, and when you think how far it's come on since, like, I don't know, I think it's maybe 2006, 2007 when I first started listening to podcasts. You think how far it's come on since then, and so do your research. But I also think there's a part of learning by making mistakes on the way. I think that's part of it as well. What works, what doesn't work, and don't be scared to reach out for help or support if there's something you're not sure about. And there's a lot of good free courses as well about podcasting you can do as well. So it's probably a bit easier maybe now than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I suppose sit down. What's going to be your unique selling point? What's going to make you different to what else is out there? What's currently being offered? What are you passionate about doing? Because you will, if you're passionate, you'll want to keep doing it, because so many people start podcasts and then within about 3 or 4 months they've given up. So what's the point? You've got to be passionate about it. It's something that you really want to do. So yeah, where's your space out there in the marketplace, for want of a better expression? The other thing is have your script, have your structure. What does your show, what's it going to look like? What do you want to include in there? What's your beginning, your middle, and your end? So you've got to plan things out. You've got to have a logic to it. And as Paul says, yeah, experiment. You will always get better. You will always get better. So experiment with the tools that you're using to recording and what you're editing on, and keep trying different things to see what you get comfortable with, and always keep trying to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any podcasts out there that you think get this right, that you enjoy?
Yeah, so as well as yourself, obviously. I like probably a lot of football ones actually, but probably it's something if you're passionate about something. So any Queen podcast, particularly, I really like that, and other ones, maybe other like music ones, like there's a David Bowie one as well, Breaking Glass. That's good. And also, like, you have to like the podcaster as well, because if you don't like the podcaster, you think he or she's a prat, you're not going to want to listen to it. So, no, let's be honest, nobody's going to want to listen to it. You know, there's like other podcasts where they have like a special guest, and it's like they might have that special guest. You're like, oh no, it's them again. So it really, I think it's about the personalities as well, but also I think as well is just knowing your audience, and one of the big thing, and going back to the advice thing, I think as well that we learned was don't say anything that's current, because you'll end up dating the podcast. So when people go back and listen to it, it'll date it. Whereas if you just stick to kind of what you're doing, rather than maybe talking about something that happened in the world that day, because you then date it. So when people go back and listen, it dates it a bit. So that's maybe one of the things.
Yeah, it's quite funny because obviously we kind of play with music, but I think most of the other shows that I listen to are maybe more sports related, which is rather bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I think the one common thing about other shows that I would listen to is that the one that I always say to people, if you want to learn how to do a podcast properly, is a show called Rebel Force Radio, which is a Star Wars podcast, and these guys have been doing it now for 20 plus years, and their production, first of all, I don't know how they do it on an almost weekly basis, how they put a show like that together, and these guys have full-time jobs as well. I don't know how they managed to do that. It's incredible. Their production values are second to none. The way the structure of the show, the sound of the show, the professional quality of it. If you want to learn how to do podcasting, that's who to listen to, I would say. And if you like Star Wars as well, then happy days.
Yep. I think the only time when that would be different is when, like, you yourselves have done it with the where the Queen one re-release came out, and then you'll mention that that came out recently or whatever. I think that's sort of different because you're still looking at the catalogue of Queen, and it's only slightly dating it in a way. It's still timeless because you're just talking about a re-release that in the future is something from the past, but it's still relevant to the actual subject that you're discussing.
Yeah, agreed. Another show which again is probably worth giving a shout out to is, I don't know if you guys have listened to it, which is the soundtrack show.
Yep.
Which is really good. So David W. Collins presents that, and he'll normally pick a soundtrack. Funnily enough, he's obviously comes from a musical background, so he'll actually dive into the construction of the different songs or pieces. He'll obviously give you a bit of context as to how the film that's related to, how the soundtrack album was recorded, who's involved. He'll play clips and just walk you through the motifs and stuff, how it's been constructed, and where maybe the composer took inspiration from. Very, very well researched. It's a really, really good show. Right now he's on Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. So that's his current one that he's doing a series on. Definitely worth checking out if you like your movie soundtracks.
Duel of the Fates is a fantastic piece of music.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it really is.
It is.
But that one you've just mentioned to me, it makes me think of. I've listened to that, and I think that works well. As much as I've said about yourselves, with your show works nicely with Seaside Pod Review. That one you've just mentioned, soundtracking, that reminds me of that works well with a show that, and it's a commercial show, so it's got a big production crew behind it and whatever. But Edith Bowman does a podcast that's about soundtracks, and she will talk to the filmmakers or to actors occasionally or to anybody that's part of a film, and they will discuss the soundtrack of a film that they've been in or soundtracks that they've had in their films. And they'll go into the nitty-gritty of how did this soundtrack affect how the film came about for you personally. So with the actors, did the soundtrack affect you and the way that you performed that part in the film? And that's another one that's really an interesting way to look around things that on a normal radio station you wouldn't be able to get.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You wouldn't have the time to you wouldn't be given that time to dive into it in such detail, because obviously it's meant to be a commercial. If it's radio, it's meant to be commercial, and things are meant to be kept moving. So that's where we're thankful we have things like podcasts these days, isn't it?
It is. So how can people find the show and get hold of you if they want to?
Give Paul a call. No, we'll give you his mobile number. No, so we are on we're on Facebook. So yeah, please feel free to join the Facebook group. We're on Instagram, and I think we're on TikTok. We've just not posted anything yet, Paul, have we?
Yeah, I can't seem to get it at the moment. Because I don't use TikTok normally. But we're also on YouTube. We've got our YouTube channel. So we've got that.
Yes. And Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, song. Yeah, so you can get us there. We're also, you can get us via our email address as well. I'm sure it's like sheerpodattack@gmail.com, I think it is, yeah. So yeah, lots of different ways to get in touch with us, and we'd love to hear from you.
He says after taking his glasses off and looking at the email address.
Yeah, I think it's that. I did go searching for it. It never came up, but hey.
We'll find it. It's bound to that.
Maybe it just shows you how often we've used it so far. There we are. Yeah.
Anyway, you can find Pods Like Us on any streaming platform. There are also socials on Facebook, Instagram, X, as it's called now, which is a stupid name, Blue Sky, and also on TikTok, when I can be bothered to put videos up. And you can also find us on Patreon as well. And I believe you guys have got a Patreon as well.
I think we used to for Trimming the Musical Fat, but yeah, we kind of let that slide a couple of years back, yeah. So, not anymore.
No. It's too much work getting 2 podcasts out all the time anyway, isn't it, I suppose?
I think if it was our full-time job, no bother at all. But yeah, I think when you've got other things, it's a hell of a lot of work, isn't it?
If you like the show enough, guys, and you want them to do it full-time, contact them and help out financially, and we'll
please,
all give a word.
just give us tens of thousands of pounds, and we'll be quite happy to do that for you.
Exactly what Eric Paul Johnson says.
Yeah, exactly. Just show us your money. We'll be quite happy to do it full time for you. We'd even do 2 shows a week. Yeah, show me the money.
Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us.
Listen, here's the truth. If it's not something you love to do, automation is mandatory. You didn't start your podcast to spend hours editing clips. You started it to create, connect, and grow your audience. But here's the problem. Every other platform works with video podcasts, and manual editing eats up your most valuable asset, your time. That's where Opus Clip changes everything. Upload your video, and Opus Clip will automatically find the gold nugget moments, auto-clip the captions for the best parts, perfect for TikTok, Reels, and Shorts. 1 hour-long episode becomes 10, 20, even 30 viral-ready clips in minutes. The tool even predicts each clip's viral potential so you know exactly what to post. No more tenuous editing, no more wasted hours, just you staying in the place that you love to be, creating content that matters. Head to podnationopus.com for your free trial and get back to doing what you do best. Stop editing and start creating now.